silver's kind of a policeman on the inflation of gold. So in other words, they balance each other out. And the mistake that's been made in the past with bimetallism is that there's been a fixed ratio, and that's incorrect. You need to have a floating exchange where 15 silvers equal an ounce of gold, or 16, or 17, or 23, or whatever the number is. But that would put a restriction on the value of gold and silver together.
As of December 1st, 2024, the price of gold has surpassed $2,600 per ounce, while silver remains around $30 per ounce. Despite gold's significantly higher price per ounce, there are strong indications that silver will experience a more significant percentage increase in value than gold in the coming year. With rising demand for both precious metals, many investors wonder whether gold or silver is better for their portfolio. David Morgan, founder of the Morgan Repor, discusses the potential benefits of a bimetallic standard that includes gold and silver. One of the key advantages of such a system is its ability to regulate inflation. According to Morgan, when gold is measured against silver, silver acts as a policeman on gold's inflation, helping to create a natural balance between the two metals. However, Morgan also questions the practicality of implementing a bimetallic system in the current market, given the significant disparity in the market values of gold and silver today. The current gold-to-silver ratio stands at 85-1, significantly higher than historical averages, suggesting that silver may be undervalued relative to gold. While 2024 is shaping up to be a notable year for both gold and silver, copper is also playing an important role in the precious metals market. Currently trading around $4.10 per pound, copper has seen a strong bullish trend, with a 20% increase over the past year. The recent stability in copper prices, along with minor fluctuations, indicates a healthy and resilient market. David Morgan also proposes the idea of a trimetallic standard, incorporating copper alongside silver and gold, noting that such systems were historically widespread. He argues that measuring gold solely against paper currency overlooks the inherent limitations of precious metals. While paper can be printed endlessly, silver and gold are finite resources. We're about to explore the video, but first subscribe and hit the bell icon to keep up with our newest uploads. Your feedback in the comments is always appreciated.
When you measure on a mono standard only, you only measure in terms of paper. So gold could go to infinity in terms of paper. Whereas if it's measured in pieces of silver, silver's kind of a policeman on the inflation of gold. So in other words, they balance each other out. And the mistake that's been made in the past with bimetallism is that there's been a fixed ratio, and that's incorrect. You need to have a floating exchange where 15 silvers equal an ounce of gold, or 16, or 17, or 23, or whatever the number is. But that would put a restriction on the value of gold and silver together. You could even go as far as a trimetallic standard and use copper, silver, and gold. It used to be, one of the monetary systems that was, pretty pervasive worldwide. So basically, he makes the argument that if you just go on one, if you only can measure it against paper, then what are you really doing to yourself? You can print to infinity, so gold's worth infinity. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Can't print silver. And so I liked the argument. I brought it to her. I thought we got a pretty good discussion on that. Should silver be in a monetary system? I would say you should have I'm very favorable to bimetallic. I really think you should have both. But would that be practical or not? Yes and no. Absolutely not at today's ratio, because silver is so worthless relative to gold for monetary purposes, mm-hmm. that it wouldn't have any effect. If you look at the world financial system, gold represents 1% of the financial system. Silver represents 0.02% of the financial system. So you would have to get back to a gold-silver ratio of probably the classic monetary ratio of 15-1. That's not how it comes out of the ground, people. Or maybe a 10-1, where silver's worth 1/10 the amount of gold. If you did that, and if you let the free market derive the price, it'd probably come back to the natural ratio, which is 7-1. Mm-hmm. So 7 ounces of silver by an ounce of gold, which is how it comes out of the ground right now. If that were to be established, then it would have a monetary role. But as a 85 to 1, it's not worth enough to be pertinent to the monetary system. Having over expectations, and I've probably been guilty of giving people too big an expectations of silver. I really, in 2003, I said silver would make it to triple digit. I still think it will, but it really has been so demonetized that it hasn't really kept pace with what I thought it would. I've read a lot and I think a lot, but it doesn't make me right. I think it's still very important. I mean, in a worst case scenario where there is a bank closure or your bank is closed and you have some silver coins, you're in a lot better shape than if you didn't, depending on the circumstances. But I think it's important for everybody to own a little bit of silver and gold. You don't have to overdo it, but it is the money of last resort. It's easy to teach a 6-year-old what a silver coin is and convince them pretty easily it has value and work from there. I would say that with the technological age, that silver will still be moving up, as Steve St. Angelo has pointed out many times, along the production curve cost. Mm-hmm. I mean, silver's just over the cost of production right now. There has to be a margin in there. You would be out of the silver mining business. Whether it will catch the last wave and become perceived as a monetary asset or not remains to be determined. I fully expect that it will. I do think that, gold gets so expensive that most people can't afford it. They'll run to silver. And the attributes of silver are far superior to gold as far as its actual usefulness in, in the world at large. But I think the main thing is over expectation. Again, I could, give myself a bit of a bow out and say, yeah, I remember saying, and it was true early on. I mean, I made the statement that gold will preserve your wealth, but silver could make you wealthy. I didn't say it would. And if you go back to 2000, 2011, I mean, silver did outperform gold. And that was, would it make you wealthy? That depends. I mean, I did a trade in silver and the last run up from the 19 level up to 48. I showed that trade to my paid members, and I had people that retired for life on that trade. So it made them wealthy. Did it make everybody? So, the word could is not the word would. But I probably went down the weeds too far, Tom, but that's my statement.
Instead of threatening to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS member countries, supported by China and Russia, for their efforts to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar in international trade, President-elect Donald Trump should seek to understand the reasons behind these nations' moves away from the dollar. China and Russia, two of the major global powers, are increasingly adopting gold as a strategic asset for their future. David Morgan highlights that historically, the wealthiest nations have been those with the greatest productive capacity and the most gold. While he advocates for a gold-based or bimetallic system, he recognizes a shift in global monetary systems, particularly with the alignment of nations under the ISO 2022 standard. Now let's redirect our attention to a video.
I mean, if you look at monetary history, the adage, he who owns the gold makes the rules. So if you look at where the most, the Austrians look at capital as means of production. Who creates the most wealth? So you go back pre-US, it was the UK, it was United Kingdom that, empire, the sun never set on the empire of the United Kingdom. Well, even though they were an island, they still had the most productive capacity and they owned the most gold. Then after the war, all the gold came to the United States and the United States had the most productive capacity. Now, not all the gold, but a great amount of gold has gone to Asia, China in particular, and they have the greatest productive capacity. So basically, those that manufacture and produce the most in real assets, meaning, food, manufactured goods, food, that type of thing, is the wealthiest because that's real economic activity, and they seem to acquire the most gold during that process. So we only have to look that far at a very rudimentary, elementary level and follow the gold and see who's the most productive and who owns it and why. The most productive, the UK. Then the most productive, US, the most gold. Now China, the most gold. So I think that's definitely making the foundational argument of what you asked me. Well, how do they look at it? They look at it probably close to the way the late, great Jim Dines said. I mean, John Dines quoted himself saying, or I'm quoting him saying that gold is the monetary hitching post of the universe. There's nothing more stable than a gold standard, or really, in my view, a bimetallic standard. But regardless, I think they get it, and I think that they're prepared to perhaps go into a some type of gold-based monetary system. Having said that, I want to contradict myself because I dive deep, as you know, and this ISO 222 basically aligns all nations, with the BRICS being aligned with this edict that this is how the new monetary system is going to work, and basically everything is connected, BRICS or no BRICS. So I have my concern now whether the BRICS actually broke off from that international agreement or not. I don't know. I don't want to go too far in conjecture here, but I'm concerned that basically it's one big club. We're not in it. It's bankers and bankers and bankers, regardless of where they're domiciled. And looking, I think, at the BIS, as I outlined earlier, is a good way to look at the tip top and get a pretty good idea. But I do think, people rebel. There could be the BRICS, in back room or whatever, saying, you know what, if this thing doesn't work, we have a backup, and the backup's called gold. So I don't know.
JP Morgan forecasts a near-term downturn for base metals in early 2025, driven by potential U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods. However, the bank expects a rebound later in the year, supported by stronger Chinese economic stimulus and improved valuations. For precious metals, JP Morgan anticipates gold prices rising to $3,000 per ounce and silver surging to $38 per ounce by late 2025 as markets stabilize. What role do you think inflation fears and ongoing global economic challenges will play in the demand for gold and silver in 2025? Drop your comments below and let us know what you think. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe for more. We're grateful to have you with us on this journey.